أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. I begin as I always begin in the name of Allah, whose grace I seek in this and all other matters. Well, according to the poll, you guys don't want me to share my new moon altar updates so much. So I'm going to take advantage of that to take a break. I'm still going to update my altar. The understanding that I'm operating on and the way that I align it with Islamic history, culture, and practices is because we still operate on a lunar calendar. So it's actually the end of Dhul Hijjah, the 12th month, and we will be entering into Muharram, which is another sacred month and which is a month that has a particular observation for the assassination of Imam Hussein, who was the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib, who was married to the daughter of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Her name is Fatima. So there's a lot that's going to happen in this month anyway, according to just Islamic cultures and history. But also it turned out that this time, the new moon scheduled for the 8th, depending exactly on where you are in the world as to exactly what time that's going to occur, the 8th is a Monday. And it was one of the sunnah or practices of the Prophet to fast on Mondays. I'm actually going to observe that day in fasting because what I've observed about myself during the lockdown is that I go through cycles of good eating and to like not so good eating and overindulging and actually having sugar, like products made from sugar, like candy, which I literally can't afford to do anymore. It's even hard enough for me to eat just fresh fruit. If I eat too much, it also affects my blood sugar. I love getting old. Got to pay attention to all this kind of stuff. So I thought I'll start with a fast on Monday, and then I'll do some intermittent fasting, hopefully for 10 days. I might make it 2 cycles of 10 days, which will be 3 weeks. Inshallah, but I don't beat myself up, but I do occasionally have to take myself off of the, overindulgence wagon, because when I consume the things that are not as good for my body, I actually experience also bouts of depression. It just affects my whole metabolism, in that way. So even though it's hard, because when I start to feel that way, I want to comfort eat. Sometimes I just kind of like take the bull by the horn and say, okay, let's get off this track. So inshallah, keep me in your prayers for that. I wanted to share something about the 8-8 Lion's Gate. I'm not rhyming on purpose. But you may have heard something about the Lion's Gate. It's out there sort of in the world of the connection to things about our universe, our planets, our solar system, and being in the galaxy. Namely, that the next star over from our sun, Sirius, aligns exactly with our sun, and the orientation of the pyramids in Giza are such that they capture this, this star alignment, because of course our sky moves and stars, shift in accordance to different configurations of our movement around our sun. So when you have the lineup of these two energy sources, these two suns, it's called the Lion's Gate. So in between is supposed to be the space or the portal through which you get a certain kind of cosmic energy. Because the way that I look at astrology, one, because I'm just interested in it personally and there's no harm in it, but two, because we are inhabitant of this planet. So far, it's the only planet we know for sure that supports life. So that says something really huge about our relationship as human beings to not only this planet, but to our solar system and to the entire universe through Allah, the creator of all things, all universes. So it's a really, to me, it's a really heavy affirmation of the reality of the khilafa. Inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifa. We were created as caretakers, khalifa, agents of Allah on this planet. I pay attention to these because we know that our solar system is held together by certain gravitational forces. It stays in its place and yet it moves and everything moves. The earth, rotates on its axis as well as circles around the sun. So there's a lot going on. I mean, actually, our whole solar system is also moving throughout the universe, which that just boggles my mind. So when we get the planets that circle around our sun in certain configurations or relationships with each other, like for example, when they form a square in sort of a 90-degree angle, there's a certain, what I want to say, charge that's a given to the gravitational energy that each of them have in relationship to our sun, the rest of the universe, and then to each other. So that's how come I pay attention to things like, certain planetary squares in terms of their aspects, because they do square each other, they trine each other, that is 3 of them in a certain point. Sextiles, they break it down sometimes into like really smaller and smaller units, each of them having an impact on in terms of like what that energy charge will be like when they are in that configuration. So it's fascinating because right now we pretty much are operating on the basis of the 9 planets that circumambulate our sun, but we also do a calculation including the sun, and we do a calculation including our moon. And again, all of these are like physically in a dynamic relationship with each other, and how they line up with each other has an impact on the energy for us on Earth. So for example, the waves on the ocean are corresponding to the relationship of the moon to our planet and to the sun. So a new moon is when the sun and our moon are in the same, if you do it like a spoke of the wheel of a bicycle, they're on the same line within the spoke perception vis-a-vis our Earth. And the outward manifestation of that is that the moon disappears in a manner of speaking, because she cannot reflect the light from the sun, because she needs to be at a certain distance. And when she's at her furthest distance from the sun, it's called the opposite. The moon is opposite the sun, and then she's full. And y'all know how much I like the full moon. If you don't, let me just remind you, I love the full moon. I've also in my, retirement, self-supporting, self-caring trajectory, made my intentions and traveled intentionally to catch 2 total solar eclipses in the last several years. One happened to be here in Indonesia, and the last one happened to be in the United States. So in both cases, I didn't have to go that far, but I did have to, make a plan to get to the exact spot where you could see it best. So I'm still excited about this transformation. And when I was sharing my altar updates, the point that I was trying to make you aware of is that everything is operating also within this energy of Jamal and Jalal, masculine, feminine. Jamal is feminine, masculine is Jalal, or yin and yang. Everything is operating within that energy. We are balancing between it. We're balancing it within our souls. We're balancing it within our bodies. in such a way that we fulfill our khilaf, our agency, our moral agency before Allah. We fulfill it with our best ability when we can tawheedic harmonize our own energies. So my belief in Tawheed is both out there in the universe in terms of the manifestations of Allah's unique and one nature. It's also in social structures in terms of justice, equality, reciprocity, and dignity. And then there's the spiritual dimension about the integration of the energies and forces within our own bodies so that our bodies, minds, and souls, so that we operate at our highest potential and we achieve our best results in this gift of life that Allah has given us. So I still operate along those lines such that when I reconfigure the items on my altar, I follow an intuitive flow. That is, I don't predetermine before I get there where everything will go, with the exception of the one starting item. And the one starting item I put in the middle, and then I go, if left and right are, representing yin and yang, and it doesn't matter right now which one you want to put on those two sides in order to understand they're reciprocal, they support each other. And then I move to the yin and the yang sides, and I move yin and yang items, the items that represent and reflect, this kind of masculine and feminine energy, each of them having, different kinds of configurations based on history and symbolism and the like. So that was what I was doing, and I will still do it. I'm just not going to, record it and share. The activation of this Lion's Gate, because it falls with regard to the new moon month, the new year of the Islamic calendar, and is also a double 8 in the Gregorian calendar, so the 8th month and the 8th day, 8 being the most auspicious number in all systems of numerology, including the Chinese systems, because 8 is turned sideways, it's a sign of infinity. So there is a certain a notion of prosperity, abundance, light and love that comes with when you have those two, when you have that number being duplicated 2 or 3 or 4 times. So the 8-8 portal, the Lion's Gate portal, Lion's Gate because the sun is in Leo, and Leo's spirit animal is the lion. So the Lion's Gate portal, when it is activated a few days before, a few days after, they usually say, there is something that we can receive. Whatever we receive will be in accordance to our own, what the Sufis call hal, your own state, your spiritual state, your needs, your wants, your, the energy you've put out there up to this point, and it will activate in us the hal, the state, the condition, the spiritual awareness level that we achieve in accordance to what we have put in and what we want to get out of it. So to me, it's a highly ritualistic date. And because I have had an experience recently that I have been processing at, I want to say, the deepest level, which, I'm almost 70 years old. I have a lot of deep levels, alhamdulillah. But when I say the deepest level at this point, I'm still, I can't even talk when I think about it because it's just so deep. But some of you are aware that I am considered controversial by some corners. And maybe you're also aware, but if not, I will share because I don't dwell on it, that I'm blacklisted by certain corners of our community. And I have experienced certain levels of, I want to say public takfir, sort of saying that I'm not Muslim and saying that I'm not a believer because I don't believe in the patriarchal hegemonic binary version of Islam. And that is true. I don't believe in that. I definitely believe in Islam. I just don't define it the same way that certain neoconservatives, sort of patriarchal hegemonic thinkers, especially so-called leaders, do. And I make that known, and that presents them with the necessity to, attack me. I've experienced that quite a bit. Recently, when I did the interview with Suad Abdul Khabir for her Umi archives, she said something during the interview. It's there. I'll link it again if you want to see it. But she said, where would in other words, the Black community of Muslims, where would we be had we listened to you? I cannot tell you how deeply moving that statement was for me, because this is all based on the research and soul search that I've done about our mother Hajar for more than 25 years. Because miraculously, after I received the worst response from our community, people having khutbahs where they were talking about, those terrible Islamic feminists and, whatever, and, spreading, like really negative versions of a blog that I wrote after I made Hajj in 2012 about our mother Hajar, and calling out some of the consequences of her being abandoned. And so 3 words sort of went viral, if you want to say it that way, and that there's still people who are bringing it back to me today. And when I gave my khutbah for Eid al-Adha the year before, during the first year of the pandemic when we were under lockdown, I pretty much closed the door. Talk about Lionsgate. I pretty much closed the door on that conversation by saying what it is that it is for me, and how it is that I see it in no uncertain terms, and that was it. And I was happy with that. But Allah is so amazing, really. Life is so magical. Her decree is so sublime. When Dr. Suad was going through her mother's archives, she discovered a cassette tape that captured an entire 1-hour lecture that I gave at Columbia University in 1998. That's like almost literally 25 years. So let's just say it took me a few years to compose all that went into a 1-hour lecture. And to hear my voice from that cassette converted to an MP4, to hear my voice, to hear the sheer earnestness of my deliberation and the expansive number of details that I included from way back then. And let me just be really, really honest. I was living that life of Hajar. I was a single mother of 5 children, having married 2 men. Even when we were married, they were not good providers. And so, of course, when we were not married, I didn't really have much expectation that they were going to do better. So I was doing all of the things that I talked about in that lecture. I was doing all those things by myself, and nevertheless receiving chastisement from the community. Sorry, the sun is shining like right at a weird place. I can't. All right, let me just pull back. That helps a little bit. So there was a great deal of anxiety in my life, and I can feel the pain that I experienced at that time. And to look forward from that time, the next 23 years, and see the ways in which I was further blacklisted and ostracized. Like after that time, really after the prayer 2005, I was never invited to the Black community again. This is my community, and yet I'm like blacklisted at the worst level. having had a substantial public service relationship, I mean, I have served the communities of Muslims all my life as a Muslim. I'm still serving the communities. It's just that if I'm not invited, I can't serve, and I won't force myself on people. So bringing all of that together, so recently, what I have felt is I have felt the completion of an effort that I put forward, which was not received when I put it forth with the extreme amount of research and soul search that I put into it in 1998. And I continued to reflect from that same trajectory until I went to Hajj and had new levels of awareness occur to me with regard to her story and its significance. And I continued to write and to reflect on it and to speak on it and to do public events with regard to it. I mean, I did a lot of work, and yet to be recognized by certain communities for only 3 words out of context in which those words were actually uttered, and being compelled to defend my location relative to the negative reception of certain communities, I still nevertheless persevered to project the ideas that I had soul searched and researched, and experience even more abandonment from the community because of it. So when a person says in a public, virtual event, where would we be? That is the Black community, where would we be had we listened to you? I can honestly say I don't know. But we know that the Black community is predominantly very conservative. The Black Muslim community in the United States, African-American Muslims they're predominantly conservative. But I am a daughter of enslaved people, so I will always identify with my people as a collective. And I am a member of the Ummah, the worldwide Ummah. So I have lived and worked extensively on the global arena, and in places where I am not blacklisted or even respected, it makes absolute sense that I would gravitate towards that, because otherwise I could have and probably would have lived those entire 23 years constantly fighting against the rejection. And I just feel like I don't want to put my energy there. I want to put my energy where I can build on the positive, where I can receive nurturing, where I can give nurturing. And yet, in a way, I do feel like I was exonerated by that statement alone. Nothing will change how thorough was my consideration way back in 1998. Nothing will change it. It's on the record now. It's public. It's available. I posted it, on this page as well. Nothing will change that, and nothing will change the struggle that I experienced taking a stand with regard to support for our mother Hajar, taking it from a very, very personal place, and at the same time only receiving further chastisement, rejection, and alienation. Nothing will change that. But you do kind of feel like, I know I did the right thing, and I know I did it with all sincerity, but I wasn't recognized as having done it with sincerity. And so you become more private with regard to, the things you strive for. But I can't strive for anything less than Allah. I can't make the community, even my own Black community, I can't make it the sum total of my devotion and the projection of my khilafah, of my agency. I have to continue to try to do my best before Allah. And now I know not only did I do my best, but it only took a quarter of a century before there was some note that it was recognized by those who mean the most to me. And so as we go into this alignment between Sirius, the star, and our sun, the star, I'm just going to, do more, inner reflection, take a little better charge of my physical health, and to go on with my life. Please keep me in your prayers, because now I feel like, oh, okay, so now I can plant a seed that 23 years later, wonder what it will look like. Because I think I wasn't even aware how deeply the seed had been planted in 1998 when I gave that address, only to see that somewhere in the background that it did in fact come to fruition. So thank you Allah, and salam alaikum.